December 20th, 1943. 27,000 feet above Nazi Germany. A crippled American bomber is bleeding fuel, trailing smoke, and dying in the sky. 10 men aboard are fighting for their lives. Then a German fighter pulls alongside, close enough to see through the cockpit glass, close enough to finish them with one burst. The German pilot looks at the American pilot. Their eyes meet, and in that moment, everything changes. The German makes a choice that could get him executed. The American survives because of it. Then both men vanish into their separate lives, carrying the same secret, the same memory, the same haunting question for 47 years. This is the story of Charlie Brown and Franz Stigler, two enemies who became brothers. But first they had to find each other. Charlie Brown's B-17, the year-old pub, was never supposed to make it back. The mission was simple on paper. Bomb a German factory near Bremen, turn around, fly home. But nothing went according to plan. German fighters swarmed them over the target. Flak tore through the fuselage like paper. The tail gunner was killed instantly. The nose gunner took shrapnel to the face. The tail was shredded. The oxygen system failed. Half the crew was bleeding out at 27,000 feet. Charlie Brown, just 21 years old, fought to keep the aircraft airborne while his crew bled and died around him. They dropped out of formation, alone, defenseless. An easy kill for any German pilot looking for a victory. Then Franz Stigler appeared. Franz was hunting. He'd already shot down 2 bombers that day. One more kill would earn him the Knight's Cross, Germany's highest military honor. His commanding officer had promised it to him personally. All Franz needed was one more American bomber. When Franz spotted the lone B-17 struggling through the sky, he thought it was a gift. He climbed toward it, finger on the trigger, ready for an easy victory. Then he got close enough to see inside. The tail gunner's position was destroyed. Blood streaked across shattered plexiglass. Through massive holes in the fuselage, Franz could see wounded men trying to save each other. The tail section was barely attached. Half the aircraft looked like it had been through a meat grinder. Franz pulled alongside the cockpit. He looked at Charlie Brown. Charlie looked back. Both men were 21 years old. Both were scared. Both were just trying to survive. Franz remembered the words of his commanding officer, Gustav Rödel, spoken months earlier during training. "If I ever see or hear of you shooting at a man in a parachute, I will shoot you myself." Franz looked at the dying bomber again. Those men weren't a threat. They were helpless. Finishing them wouldn't be combat. It would be murder. Franz made his decision. Instead of firing, he flew alongside them. He waved at Charlie, trying to signal him to land in Germany or divert to neutral Sweden, where his crew could get medical help. Charlie refused. He kept flying toward England, 250 miles away across the North Sea. So Franz did something unthinkable. He escorted them. He flew on their wing through German anti-aircraft positions, protecting them from ground fire. German gunners saw the Bf-109 and held their fire, assuming the bomber was already captured. Franz guided them to the coast, gave Charlie one final salute and broke away. Then he flew back to base and said nothing. What he'd done was a court-martial offense in Nazi Germany. The penalty was execution. Charlie landed at RAF Seething on December 20th, 1943. 11 wounded men stumbled out of year-old pub, including one dead. Ground crews surrounded the aircraft in disbelief. The B-17 had over 400 holes. The tail was hanging by cables. Half the aircraft shouldn't have been structurally capable of flight. At debriefing, Charlie told his commanding officers what happened. Her German pilot escorted us to safety. The response was immediate and cold. "Never speak of this again. Don't tell the crew. Don't tell other pilots. If word got out that Germans could show mercy, it might weaken morale, create dangerous sentiment. The official narrative was clear. You can't be human and fly in a German cockpit." So Charlie buried it. He completed his tour, flew more missions, survived the war. He went home to West Virginia, attended college, rejoined the Air Force in 1949, and served until 1965. He became a State Department officer, traveled to Laos and Vietnam, retired in 1972, and settled in Miami. He built a successful life, raised a family, worked as an inventor, but he never forgot. His daughter remembered the nightmares. Her father waking up in cold sweats, reliving that December day. The war never left him. And underneath all the PTSD, all the combat memories, was one haunting image: the German pilot in the Bf-109 flying alongside them, choosing mercy. Franz also stayed silent. He landed near Bremen after escorting the B-17 and told no one. Speaking would mean a firing squad. He survived the rest of the war, Germany's collapse, the chaos of defeat. In 1953, he immigrated to Canada, married, became a successful businessman. He too tried to move on. But the memory stayed with him. The shattered B-17, the wounded crew, the young American pilot who looked back at him through the cockpit glass. Franz later said he lost his appetite for kills after that day. Something changed in him when he saw those dying men fighting to save each other. Both men carried the memory in silence for 43 years. Boston, Charlie Brown, now 64 and retired, attends a combat pilot reunion. During a panel discussion, someone asks if he had any memorable missions. Charlie hesitates. Then he tells the story: the crippled bomber, the German fighter, the escort to safety, the salute. Afterward, people surround him with questions. Who was the pilot? Did he survive? Why haven't you tried to find him? Charlie realizes he's carried this question for 43 years without ever trying to answer it. He decides right there, I need to find him. He starts with official channels: U.S. Air Force archives, West German military records, Army Air Force historical offices. Months pass, years. Dead ends everywhere. Records destroyed, scattered across divided Germany, lost to Soviet capture. But Charlie can't let go. In 1989, he tries something different. He writes a detailed account and sends it to a combat pilot newsletter read by American and German veterans. He describes everything: the date, location, circumstances, the Bf-109's markings. He includes one critical detail: the German pilot looked directly at him and gave a salute before breaking away. Charlie sends the letter and waits. He's 67 now. Nearly 46 years have passed. The German pilot might be dead, but Charlie has to try. Meanwhile, in Vancouver, Franz Stigler is 74. He'd also attended Boeing's 1986 anniversary event, the only German pilot there. A local TV station interviewed him. He told his story: the B-17 he spared, the decision he made, the risk he took. Franz had been quietly searching too. He wanted to know if the bomber made it back, if the crew survived. No answers. Until January 1990. Franz sees Charlie's letter in the newsletter. The date matches, the location matches, everything matches. After 47 years, Franz knows the crew survived. He sits down and writes 4 words: I was the one. January 18th, 1990. Charlie receives an envelope from Canada. He opens it, reads the letter. His hands shake. When they first spoke on the phone, Franz described every detail Charlie needed to confirm this was the German pilot from December 20th, 1943. As they talked, something profound shifted in both men. Charlie's nightmares began to ease. The question that haunted him for 5 decades finally had an answer. More than an answer. It had a name, a voice, a living human being. For Franz, hearing Charlie's voice meant everything. For 47 years, he'd wondered if his choice mattered. Now he knew. They lived. All 10 men survived. 6 months later, they met in Seattle. Franz stepped out of a car, saw Charlie, and ran to embrace him. The 2 men, once enemies, held each other and wept. Franz turned to the camera and said softly, "I love you, Charlie." They spent the day filling in 47 years of missing pieces. Charlie introduced Franz to other crew members, men alive because of Franz's choice. Franz met their children, their grandchildren, families that existed because one pilot chose mercy. The meeting healed both men. Charlie said his nightmares stopped. Franz said meeting Charlie and the crew was the only good thing that came out of the war for him. After 1990, they became inseparable. Weekly phone calls, traveling together to air shows, veteran gatherings, civic events, telling their story everywhere. During one visit, Franz gave Charlie a book. Inside he'd written, In 1940, I lost my only brother as a night fighter. Thanks, Charlie, your brother, Franz. The families became close. The bond extended beyond the two pilots to everyone around them. Some people didn't understand. Franz received calls from Germany calling him a traitor. Some Canadian neighbors called him a Nazi. Franz's response never changed. They would never understand. For Franz and Charlie, labels didn't matter. German or American, enemy or friend. Just words from a war that ended decades ago. What mattered was December 20th, 1943, when one man looked at another and chose humanity over duty. The friendship lasted 18 years, March 22nd, 2008. Franz Stigler died in Vancouver. He was 92. 8 months later, November 24th, 2008. Charlie Brown died in Miami.